Oh man, I'm sad we lost the music.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else got that. That was a
I was
good
hoping we just.
mellow intro.
I was hoping we'd just be on vibes. I mean, let's be honest. This whole night's been on vibes.
Vibes.
Indiana 73, Indiana State 0. Obviously, this is not going to be the longest post game podcast of.
An hour at least. Break down every play.
You're going to be here for an hour. I'm going home. Just drop my phone off tomorrow.
It's going to be tough.
I mean, listen. I think that the thing that Kurt Cignetti seemed most pleased with was that his team never let up. That he, it would have been a natural sort of even night, especially what was it, 45-0, I think at halftime, to just sort of like soft pedal and say, Illinois next week, this is taken care of, and maybe just sort of, just like I said, just take it easy through the second half. He said he never felt that. He felt the focus was good, the energy was good, the intensity was good, and you felt like he liked that was kind of not necessarily the game or the score, but more he liked that was the performance that signs off the preseason, non-conference season.
Wow. I mean, we got a glimpse into his true thoughts. What I thought was also interesting when he was making that point about urgency, he put it on the coaches, he said this week and today specifically. He told them, you guys need to be setting the standard on the sideline, so the players follow, and we need to get through this thing. And I mean, obviously it worked. All three sort of, I mean, if you want to say first team, second team, kind of, and then the kind of third stringers even, all scored. The defense kind of completed the shutout as well.
Indiana State didn't even get like a couple of garbage time touchdown drives.
Right, they got the biggest thing they got was across midfield, but both times the drive ended. They forced a punt. So I thought and that was one of the things I talked about in my post after the game, is just like the second team kind of held the standard. And if you're in these games and they're playing for, it's not just like a drive. This was a quarter plus, probably quarter and a half ish, especially for the second team offense. You're looking for that, and that's exactly what all those guys gave them. And in terms of like the starters, we can talk a little bit about what stood out. But the complete one-sided nature of this, I mean, look, you've covered a lot of these games that probably weren't that way.
Right. I mean, I've covered Indiana beating. I mean, it's like Western Illinois last year. I've covered Indiana beating FCS teams. It was never quite like this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there have been some.
But that's the next level. What next level programs do?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's how these are supposed to look.
Well, and we've talked about these were valuable snaps for Alberto Mendoza to go out there and have some success, because you don't know when you're going to need him to have that confidence against a much better team.
Well, because he's your number 2 quarterback with like 10 snaps at the end of the season.
Lee Beebe Jr. goes off injured. Kobe Martin gets 11 carries for 109 yards and 2 scores. You don't know if you're going to need Kobe Martin at some point this year. This was probably your last chance to get some of these guys snaps. I do think among the starters, I don't want to make the individual performances out to be too much, although Omar Cooper deserves his flowers for the 9th 200-yard game in program history receiving, ties James Hardy's single-game record with 4 touchdown catches, and Hardy did it against Michigan State in 2006. I went to that game with my dad, if you believe it. It was Dad's weekend. I think the one thing that stands out to me, especially after kind of that uneven Old Dominion performance, is that Fernando Mendoza has now had a game with each of his top 2 receivers where the connection was just really, really strong. Last week it was Elijah Surratt, all those targets, 3 touchdown passes. Obviously Surratt not quite as prolific as Cooper, and there were a couple moments today where Mendoza threw a good pass and then Cooper made an even better.
There was a lot of throwing catches.
Yeah. But either way, the point is it's. You've now had
the timing's there to set him up.
Yes, and 10 catches on 10 targets for Cooper today, and that's I think that's after 9 catches on 14 targets or 13 targets for Elijah Surratt last week. If you're Indiana, you're just happy you don't have that slot receiver dynamic that you had a year ago. In terms, I know Cooper plays in the slot, but you're not doing a lot of that dink and dunk stuff you were doing a year ago with Miles Price, Keyshawn Williams, that gets a quarterback into his rhythm. You want Mendoza to feel really comfortable in his chemistry with those 2 players in particular. And I think you've now had a game for each of them to be able to say, yeah, me and my quarterback were completely on the same page.
Somebody says this isn't the karaoke we were promised. That poll is still open. The voting's still ongoing, so we can't declare it over. So no karaoke just yet. But
I'm going to sing forever.
Cooper, I mean, you got to mention the 136 yards after catch. I asked him after the game because they track all the analytics and speed. They were trackers in practice and games. He said in the preseason he had over 21 in like the fall camp off season, and last week 21.1 on the reverse. He said he think he went faster on that last play. I mean, speed like that. Look, and the way he's, I think, just a more confident receiver than he was even last year. Just really gives a lot of teams stuff to think about. Like he was beating guys in the open field badly throughout in the entire game. And
he and Kalen Black left a
just a trail of tears,
like some smoking empty pairs of shoes.
It was impressive. And look, I know the competition's a step slower, but they had guys like on him that he was breaking tackles, and those are things you put on film. And I think they're that's going to stand.
It's still football. Like we act like
right.
we act like these a player from Indiana State is like no more of an athlete than you or me. Sometimes like they're still these are still like maybe the best athlete in your high school, you know what I mean? And to be making them look just kind of completely foolish at times was impressive. I think the other big takeaway, if we are talking like performances and stats, and I do want to get to the bigger picture in a minute because we aren't going to go that long tonight. But
54 minutes left.
16 tackles for loss after 14 against Kennesaw State. That was, I think, clearly an area where Indiana did not feel, for all of its defensive success against Old Dominion, they held them to 100 and something yards, not counting those 2 touchdown runs. Old Dominion only crosses midfield once, never takes a snap across the 50. For all of that, you felt like the staff, Brian Hayes, Kurt Signetti, really challenged the line of scrimmage defensively. And that can be your lineman, that can be Aiden Fisher, who gets involved in blitz games sometimes, whatever. These last 2 games, again, competition acknowledged, 30 tackles for loss is an enormous number to just be playing in the backfield. And today I thought it was encouraging because you saw everybody getting in on it. Tyreek Tucker was pushing guys back. Mario Landino was pushing guys back. Stephen Daly had a couple big plays. I thought this might have been Mikhail Kamara's best game so far. Kellen Wyatt was a little bit quieter, but the point is you felt like everyone was getting involved, and you felt like that group looked like it was gelling together.
Well, I think you mentioned 2 of the guys. I thought the interior of the line, we talked so much about last year, what made the defense so imposing. And I've mentioned this a lot of times. CJ West was just a different breed, man. Like the guy was just unblockable at times, especially in the last 6 games. And you saw some of that from those guys today, like Mario Landino, got some snaps last year, but played his best game by far of his career today. And like you said, competition, but had a sack, almost had another near sack early in the game, was getting pushed, really unblockable against, just one offensive lineman. Dominic Ratcliffe and Hosta Wheeler also showed up. Like, I mean, they had tackles for loss. They were getting pushed in the run game and making plays, pressures in the pass game. So I thought that interior defensive line, not just the top 2 guys, all 4 kind of their top 2 lines looked really sharp. And those are things that are going to matter. I had a comment, somebody asking about the run game. Do we want to see more from them? Kind of an average day. This, I think, is a good
point. It's not an average day as a team. It's 300-yard games.
The 3 top backs in terms of just like overall production, nothing that kind of blows out the door. But it's a good seg to mention BB did leave the game with an injury, and his status is to be determined.
Eddie said he thought it was non-contact.
Thought it was non-contact, which is never a good sign, just because he didn't take a hit, fell down kind of on the sidelines. So that's something to monitor kind of going forward. But I just didn't think that it was. Look, I thought Omar Cooper said they were playing zone. They were not playing man to man.
Yeah,
I knew they could challenge them.
I was going to say,
I just think that was what the game.
I think Indiana State. I mean, Indiana State was loading the box. Indiana State was running some run blitzes and some stunts early in the game. And then Indiana State, I think, just sort of said, we're not getting beat on the ground. And, I mean, to an extent, they did. They still had 301 rushing.
They still averaged 8.1 yards a
game. Yeah, but, like, I think Indiana State basically just sort of picked its poison. And tonight that was, if they beat us through the air, they beat us through the air. But we're not going to get run over the way Kennesaw State did, the way that now they did and they didn't. Kobe Martin has a lot of garbage time yards. That's valuable for him. Kurt Mallory can come back after the fact and say, listen, the game was long decided. We're not going
to replace their guys too.
Yeah, we're not going to look at that as some sort of systemic failure. But if you're Indiana, it's also encouraging that you can kind of transition back and forth between, hey, week one, pass offense not really there, so we're just going to run the ball, a bunch of explosive plays. We're going to boom, boom, boom the ball down the field. It's also, I mean, this is, I think, I mean, I know Kobe Martin leads the team in rushing, and I'm not trying to minimize what he did. The in terms of the starters, the main guys, it's now the third game in a row where it's a different one. It was Himby game one, led them in rushing. BB game two, led them in rushing. Obviously, we don't know his stats. As you said, today was Kalen Black, 7 carries for 68 yards. Had some really good moments in the open field. So the point is, you also feel like you still have that diversity of skills. Maybe you lose something with BB. We'll see.
Well, if there's a position they have some depth and could afford an injury, running back is probably one of them.
Especially when you see Kobe Martin go out there and
because I mean you
tear
still
it.
have Hemby and Black
Yeah.
to go. Like they're still 1A and 1B. So I mean it's not like you're lacking. Like another injury at safety would leave this team. The couple you're looking at maybe a walk on or a freshman that hasn't played before. Running back, it's not that case. You never want to see anybody out long term. But I'm just saying that's a position where they're protected a little bit. One other thing we should mention that was interesting: the offensive line. Zen Mikulski gets a start today for Khalil Benson. Kurt Signori said after the game, Benson was unavailable for the first half for violating team rules and regulations, I think was the phrase he used. A veteran guy that's been here before, obviously something that actually Kurt Signori kind of referenced on the his radio show too, about discipline and demeanor in practice and different things. I feel like this is something that he's keeping an eye on because he's talked about having a lot of new pieces. This is the first time I think he's at least publicly mentioned somebody being disciplined and missing time in his tenure so far.
I feel like it might have happened once last year, but I don't. I mean, obviously, if it did, it's not memorable enough to stick out to me now. I mean, I do think just in general, and I don't know if this is just part of his process or if this is something specific to sort of saying, hey, we're not going to get big headed after last year. There has been so much focus on last year's over. Nothing we did last year matters to this year. This is a new season. Even again tonight, his whole thing was 4 quarters of energy, 4 quarters of effort, 4 quarters of focus. That he wants this team, whether he senses something in it or it's just a coach's natural sort of response to, hey, last year we enjoyed like unprecedented success. Everybody wanted it felt good all year. Everybody wanted to talk about us. Everybody wanted to congratulate us. But the real great programs go back and do it again. They don't look at last year as good enough, essentially.
What he's talked a lot about too with transfers, that he knew that a lot of the transfers they had last year knew the standard because they were from James Madison, his program. This year he's talked about guys coming from programs that didn't have that kind of success and they need to see this. And the same way they kind of transformed the Indiana guys, that they need to just kind of see the standard. I just thought it was interesting to note because, like I said, even if it happened once last year, this wasn't something that was an issue for this team. And to have a starter disciplined, obviously against Indiana State, they were going to win really no matter what. But it's just a notable thing that when you have that, and he's willing to kind of do that, discipline the guy. But good reps for Zen too. Obviously, a guy who doesn't have a lot of career starts. He got some quality work in for that first half.
Yeah, somebody asked real quick. I mean, just I think Bloomington South, I believe, won 36-7 tonight. So crosstown rivalry goes to the Panthers. Let's close with just kind of what's next, because ultimately, I think we have talked in different ways about the inherent awkwardness of this non-conference season because the first game of the conference schedule is so substantial. Assuming Illinois takes care of business tomorrow against Western Michigan,
it's like the perfect ramp up, though. I mean, really, you couldn't ask for how to build it better.
It is, but at the same time, I mean, all week it sort of felt like this strange. Nobody wanted to talk about the elephant in the room being the fact that you're going to beat Indiana State. It's just a question of naming your score, and then you've got this enormous. I mean, I will repeat this fact till I'm blue in the face. Indiana hasn't beaten a top 10 team at home in front of fans since 1967. For all that Kurt Signetti accomplished last season, for all that Tom Allen accomplished, in that 2-3 year run, kind of 2018, 19, 20. If Indiana wins here next Saturday night, that is something IU football fans have not seen in living memory for most of them.
Well, Illinois has to play on Saturday still, so you're assuming they beat Western Michigan to set up
I'm not picking the Walt Bell upset.
You're assuming that they win that game because they still have some work to do to set that matchup up. But continue. Sorry.
No, it just last season ultimately we so many of the games wound up being framed more about sort of Indiana doing something unprecedented, chasing history. But you think about the way those games went, and we talked about, they could lose this game or they could struggle in that game. But ultimately, with the benefit of hindsight, they were supposed to beat Nebraska. They were supposed to beat Michigan State. They were supposed to beat, Washington and so forth. All those games that felt big in the moment because it was Indiana football and you sort of had to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is a genuine playoff contending team. I know it's not one of the, top brands in the conference, just like Indiana's not. But this is an experienced team. This is a successful team. This team has done a lot of winning together.
Sure.
And this is, I mean, I would argue it's the biggest home game in at least 18 years.
But Michigan wasn't bigger than that.
Michigan was 5-5 in that game, though. This is a top 10 team if they beat.
But Michigan has A, the history, and B, that loss.
Indiana
that loss derails your playoff hopes.
Indiana also beat Michigan 5 years ago in the COVID season.
But they have wins over Illinois.
I'm confident I'm right about this, and you're not.
But in terms of what? That this game's bigger than last year's game against Michigan? Because the stakes were higher last year. The stakes aren't as high this year.
I disagree.
Well, because what if they lose 3 games? This game was meaningless.
Well, sure.
Like if they win this game and lose 3 games,
the stage and the opportunity are different.
No, I don't think so. I think late season games are always going to trump early season games because
Mm.
you're on the doorstep at that point. Right now, you have so much season in front of you. The stakes are automatically lower because they could also play back into it, right? If they beat.
You're talking about them beating what on the night they lost on the night they won that game, it was a 500 team. I understand the brand, but it was a 500 team.
But it's still with the NFL guys on the defense. Like I don't know. But again, the stakes. It's not the necessarily team in front of you. Yes, they were down that year, but I mean, it's not. We don't have to get super into this, but I just feel like the stakes are not as high for this game just because it's so early in the schedule.
I disagree.
Okay, agree to disagree. We'll see what the.
I usually agree with Mike, but tonight, Zach. Yep. Let's see. Michigan wasn't ranked. You were right, Zach. I usually agree with Mike.
But again, Illinois has to win tomorrow, so if it all could all fall apart. It's a house of cards.
Walt Bell.
he spoils
the revenge of Walt Bell. All right, let's call it there. We obviously will have a lot of coverage. HeraldTimesOnline.com, IndyStar.com/sports.
John, I'm gonna like
that's your boom. It's 4-1.
A lot of interaction here. What you just kind of trying to
stakes are higher. Look at that.
These books.
I'm winning 5-1.
Stakes are not higher in
I'm
games
winning
week
5-1.
4
I'm winning
than it
5-1.
was when you're what were they?
I'm winning 5-1.
Were they going for 10-0? Right.
I'm calling it here. I'm calling the judges. The judges are giving. The referee has stopped the fight.
No,
the referee has stopped the fight.
That's not how it works. You mentioned Walt Bell's mustache. He had shaved the mustache by the time he was on the bench.
Yeah, I think.
I had never seen the mustache.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because you mentioned the mustache. I had no idea.
It was gentlemanly. I mean, that is fair to say.
Was it like the curl?
No. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was some product in it. Like it's
like manicured. Yeah.
Yeah. Not just like if I shaved my beard off and left this here. Like it was like bushy. It was like he looked like a Civil War general.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like so it had some some volume to it.
Yeah.
So you liked it. Stop the count.
All right.
For Mike.
We're gonna leave it there. He's Mike Niziolek. I'm Zach Osterman. It's not going well for UCLA right now.
They're down 7-0.
And New Mexico is in the red zone. So that's maybe a game that won't have such mistakes.
Maybe not.
But we'll be back this week. Tons of coverage leading into Illinois. Of course, mind your banners live midweek. Sorry, it wasn't live last week. We had some technical issues.
We might have to bump that up to Tuesday for anybody that follows.
Okay. That's fine with me.
TKO.
Until then, we'll talk to you soon. This was an excellent end to the podcast.